Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry. Now let's move on to one of our worst position groups on the team. Debatable if it is the worst.
We'll talk about it when we're done.
Our secondary. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Let's start with the corners, because this group, I think, is easily the worst on the team.
Yes.
Our starters are Donte Jackson and Eli Apple, both with massive red flags.
Yes.
Massive question mark.
Donte Jackson has all the tools to be a great cornerback. That said, he has not been able to put it together. He seems to have an issue with coaching, whether it was Perry Fuel last year or even the year before. That documentary on Amazon, you could see he still butted heads with other players and other leaders on the team and other coaches. So sometimes I feel like Donte Jackson just puts way too much energy in his speed instead of his being able to diagnose plays and being able to be a great football player.
Yeah, he definitely came in as a rookie, and that was the year that All or Nothing was filmed, with a big chip on his shoulder. Thought he was already great and wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really improve last year at all. In fact, you might even say he regressed last year.
I would.
A bit. He relies way too much on his speed. Don't know if, what his film watching techniques are, if he even does it. He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. This is going to be a make or break season for him. He could come out and be a top number one cornerback in the league, or he could be gone next year or the year after.
Yeah. I could easily see. I would be less surprised if he was gone after this season than if he actually became a great corner. I just don't know if he has it in him mentally, or if he's just too much in love with himself. I mean, I hate to say that. I mean, it's mean to say, but, go back and watch All or Nothing. I mean, and then watch him play last year. He just didn't seem to care much.
My hope is that last year he regressed because of Perry Fuel. I know I keep mentioning this, but a lot of players didn't like Perry Fuel, and then, last year Donte regressed, and I'm hoping that was the issue, but who knows? In All or Nothing, he didn't show that greatness as hey, I'm going to learn and study and take.
Well, by all accounts, Phil Snow is a great guy and has a great football mind, great defensive mind. So, hopefully he can get coached up, and maybe he buys in to Matt Rule's coaching staff and Matt Rule himself. I'd love to see it because, like you said when we started this conversation, he's got all the tools. He's extremely fast. He's got excellent athleticism. All he needs to do is put it together mentally. That's it. And he's got it.
Yeah.
Eli Apple, on the other hand, maybe more of a lost cause.
Eli Apple is just
everything
like
that
Donte...
is wrong with Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's just like Donte Jackson to a certain extent, except he's been in the league a little bit longer and even has better measurables than Donte Jackson.
Yeah.
He is fast, he's tall, he's athletic. Drafted
Number
in the first
10
round.
overall pick, right?
Yeah, he was one of those can't miss cornerback prospects, but he hasn't been able to put it together either. And he's had some issues with coaching and not doing film study and everything. So it's very mirrored on the cornerback. And Phil Snow has his hands full with this group. Or whoever the secondary coach is. I don't know off the top of my head. They have their handful.
Yeah. Eli Apple was pretty bad in New York. He went to New Orleans in the second half of 2018, and he actually played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And that did not carry over into 2019. He was not very good. So this is a cheap contract with Eli Apple. I don't mind at all taking a flyer on a young guy who has a lot of potential. Very, like you said, very similar to Donte Jackson. If both of these guys can catch on, then this all of a sudden this terrible position that we have could be really good.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the talent, just need to put it together.
Now, going down the cornerback line, we're going to go to our 2020 draft pick, Troy Pride Jr. from Notre Dame. Very excited for him. A guy who fell in the draft, who has lots of talent, and he could become something special in a year or two. He needs some coaching and needs some seasoning.
Yeah, I mean, this, as we've talked about endlessly, this is a very young roster, and corner is really no different. Even our starters are like 25 or younger. So
I heard a stat with a projection of defense. The Carolina Panthers' average starter age was 23.6 years old.
Holy
and that
moly.
was, and they picked Juston Burris over Jeremey Chinn with that 23.6. They said with Jeremey Chinn winning that, it would be like 23.2 years old.
Man. And Tahir Whitehead's 30. So he's probably KK Short's 31. So he's the oldest on the defense. But man, Tony Pride Jr. I mean, out of Notre Dame, we've got a lot of hope for him. But really, he was a 4th round pick, so we don't know a ton. I mean, he could be boom or bust. Like any 4th round pick is.
Yeah, he's a 4th round pick. I mean, we have high hopes. He has potential. But if he's out there starting day one, let's be honest, that's not good.
No. Well, I don't know. Is he starting over Eli Apple? Then maybe it's not terrible. We'll see. Of course, with no preseason games and very few, full contact practices, maybe it's not that good. I'll tell you who I don't have a lot of confidence in is the next guy down the list, Corn Elder. No confidence in this guy.
No.
Surprised he's on the team.
Well, he's been cut by this team so many times, but no one else will pick him up, so he just keeps falling back in with us every year.
He's the Brenton Burson of the defense.
He really is.
Except Burson actually had some
redeeming qualities.
Yeah, he did some things in games.
Yeah. I expect nothing from him. I expect him to be gone, honestly. I think the next guy will take that spot from him. If we want to go ahead and move on.
Sure.
Stanley Thomas Oliver, 7th round pick. Again, I think he makes the team how depleted our cornerback situation is.
I like guys like this that you draft in the late rounds that are from small colleges. He's from Florida International. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes you can get diamonds in the rough there. These guys that don't get a ton of TV time, scouts aren't at their games all the time, like an Alabama or a Georgia or something like that. So, was it Jason or Jonathan that liked him? I think it was Jonathan, who we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, who really likes Stanley Thomas Oliver.
Yeah.
So, could be. I mean, after him, we've got Cole Luke, who we saw a little bit of last year. Wasn't impressive.
He wasn't impressive. I think he's more of a depth / special team type of guy, and we're going to need some of those. Then going on, we have Natrell Jamerson.
Yeah, who's been on a few different teams. He was on our team last year. I actually played 5 games last year with us, which, honestly didn't remember, to be completely honest.
I think if I suited up, I would have ended up getting in a couple games last year somehow.
That's probably true. And then the last guy on the roster is Derek Thomas, who is a Baylor guy, undrafted rookie. Rules giving him a shot.
Yep. Practice squad guy,
He'd probably be pretty happy to be a practice squad guy.
Now, before we move on to safeties, I do want to ask this question. I know that we have it kind of situated, but Logan Ryan is still out there. He's 29 years old. He had a good season last year. Would bringing him in be a horrible idea because we want to see what these younger guys have, or maybe add some good veteran leadership to this group?
Well, Logan Ryan considers himself a safety, so he may not want to be signed as a corner.
No, he's a cornerback, but he told his agent to let teams know if they want him at safety, he'll go switch positions.
From what I see, he says views himself as safety, not cornerback. So he's too old for us. Obviously, he's 29. So we don't, no, I don't think that they'll go out and get him. I think that the Panthers know what they are this year, and signing a guy like Logan Ryan is counterproductive. Honestly, if we were going to compete this year, then I think it's a no-brainer. You go and get a guy like that. He's an upgrade.
Yeah, I just worry though that this team has no veteran leadership at the cornerback position.
You're right.
None.
The question is, why is Logan Ryan still out there?
That is really weird. He had a really good year last year. I thought he would be
what's
the
the
first
deal?
2 days.
Is he a bad locker room guy? Does he want too much money? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean,
I don't want any of those on the team, though. Whatever it is.
I don't think it's a locker room or a cash thing because safety gets less money than cornerbacks.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. Like, why would he say that he would prefer to play safety? I don't know, but let's. I know we had talked about kind of lumping secondary all in together, but let's do a grade because I think our grades are going to be vastly different for safety and corner. So let's go ahead and give a grade to the corners. Is it an F?
D-.
I'm going F. Maybe F plus.
I honestly can't go much higher than D-. I could see where F is, but I guess I'm holding out hope, and that gives them to a D- instead of a D or a F.
I just think this is easily the weakest, even weaker than tight end. This is such a weak part of the team. None of these guys could be on the team next year other than our draft picks, and it wouldn't surprise me. Let's move on to safety, where things are, I think, a little brighter.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start off with Trey Boston. I think he's a very, very good safety, high-quality safety. Signed a nice contract with the team in the offseason. He's the veteran probably in that secondary, or definitely the veteran in that secondary.
I was going to say, what are you questioning?
Yeah, he's only 28, but he is, he's a guy that started in Carolina, and then for some reason we let him walk.
He had some issues in coverage when he was here the first time. Yeah. He got burnt a lot. We let him walk, and then he kind of turned his career around. He didn't have a bad career here, but when he went to, which was San Diego at the time, and then went to Arizona, he really put it back together. And last year, he had a really good season for us.
He did. I liked him when he was here the first time. I know that he wasn't perfect, but I always wondered why we let him go, and unless he just wanted too much money. But I remember he sat out for a long time in the offseason without getting signed after he left us, and then after he left LA or San Diego at the time as well, before finally catching on with Arizona. So, in fact, I don't know if he might have not even gotten on Arizona until into the season that year. So,
and then again, last year, he didn't get signed up until I think either during training camp or right as training camp was about to start. We signed him.
I think he was a steal last year for what we paid him. We're paying him more this year, but it's still not a ton of money. And now we're stable at that position. I like Trey Boston a lot.
I do too. I'm very happy we re-signed him. I have no issues there. He's obviously the captain back there, or the veteran leadership of that secondary.
He is the captain.
He is the captain.
All right. We're going with the ESPN depth chart here, so we'll talk about Juston Burris, but I don't think either one of us expect him to be the starter here. at strong safety, but I don't know a ton about Juston Burris. He's been on the Jets and on the Browns. Doesn't have great statistics, but he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing out there.
He's a guy who really hasn't had that much of a chance. Of course, you know how this team is this year. They're giving a lot of younger guys chances. He was originally signed to start for this team, and then the draft fell to us, and I don't think he's going to be starting. I think he's going to be depth for Trey Boston and Jeremey Chinn.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Jeremey Chinn, because this is a guy that we're very excited about. Yeah. And we've got him at safety here, strong safety, but he's a guy that can play multiple positions. Could see him at some linebacker, could even see him at some corner, depending on what's needed of him. This is, I think, the guy, if he gets an opportunity to show anything in these practices, and that's kind of a question, right? We don't really know what they're going to be able to do. I think he'll be a starter at some position. And it seems like this is probably the easiest position for him to get the starter role. Strong safety.
I agree. I think they're going to put him at strong safety, let him kind of roam around out there, jump up into the box a lot. He's just an athletic freak, and having that guy out on the field is just going to make the team better.
Yeah, we've talked about him a lot. We talked about him a good bit last week, and actually we talked about him a good bit the week before too. So I don't know how much more we can say about Jeremey Chinn, but we're super excited about him, and we fully expect him to be the starter, I think, week 1.
Yeah,
at some position, right? Probably not free safety. I think Trey Boston's got that nailed down.
Yeah.
I think strong safety is probably about the only place he could jump in.
And I could see him I've discussed this, a big nickel where he's kind of more down in the box, where he's more like I'm using quotes, linebacker that's covering that tight end or that slot guy. Yeah. And then Juston Burris can help out in the safety position, or somebody else who we're going to mention in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's going down the list here. TJ Green is listed as the next depth on the depth chart. Don't know a ton about him. He was with the team for a game last year, played with a game last year with the Panthers, played a game last year with New Orleans, and was with Indianapolis.
Yeah, he was a second-round draft pick.
Yeah, he played Indy. Pretty much 2 full seasons with Indy. 16 games in 2017 and 15 in 2016. So obviously they thought highly enough of him to draft him in the second round. I don't know a ton about him. They didn't think highly enough of him to keep him for the third year of his contract. So Indianapolis I'm talking about. So obviously there's some untapped potential here.
Yeah, and that's basically what I was just about to say. He's another one of these guys who has potential, but we'll see if it pans out. He's a young guy. He's still only 25 years old, even though he was drafted in 2016. They want to see if he has anything or if he's just, just another really talented athlete. I mean, he ran a 4.3 at 40, so guy's fast.
Yeah. And these guys, pretty much from TJ Green on, I think they could kind of shift anywhere. But let's talk about Kenny Robinson next, one of our draft picks. 5th round draft pick,
Kenny Robinson.
Yeah, this is the guy that came out of the XFL. He's notable because he went from college to the XFL, basically skipped his 3rd year of college to go to the XFL. And he was with West Virginia, left on not good terms with West Virginia. They basically kicked him out of school. He had offers from some of the SEC schools. I believe Alabama wanted him to come, but he decided to go make some money. Went to the XFL and was the only player drafted from the XFL. I believe
so too.
But this is, I'm going to brag on myself a bit. When we did our draft preview, I did say that we would draft this guy. So, kudos to me.
So, yes, and besides that kudos to yourself,
Yes.
Kenny Robinson was actually considered like a second round pick when he was at West Virginia. And then the whole issues and then him going to the XFL dropped him to the 5th round. So I think we've got a really good steal here. He has a lot of talent. Hopefully we can get him coached up.
He's only 21.
Safety.
He's really young.
He's labeled as a safety, but he's also played cornerback. And like I said, they had him as a second-round talent at West Virginia. So I would not be surprised if this guy ends up getting on the field one way or another, whether it's the slot corner or, an extra safety.
Or a corner. I mean, he's 6'2".
Yeah.
So he's taller than both our starting corners. And he was considered one of, if not the best defensive player in the XFL.
Yeah.
So
I really like him.
Yeah. I think he'll probably move up to one of the backup spots, TJ Green, or maybe even past Juston Burris, depending on how Jeremey Chinn works out. But and then again, like we said, he could go to corner. Quinn Blanding is the next guy.
I've heard the name, and that's all.
I feel like he's got a name that you think you've heard, but you haven't, because he's a rookie, an undrafted rookie. Was with UVA. He's 24, so he's an older rookie. But yeah, I think he's just a guy hoping to make the roster, along with Miles Hartsfield, the last guy on the depth chart here. Another undrafted rookie out of Ole Miss. These last few guys, I think locks to make the roster: Trey Boston, Burris, Chinn, Kenny Robinson, probably TJ Green, just because he's got some experience. Mm-hmm. And then Blanding and Hartsfield are sort of bubble guys. Wouldn't be surprised if they brought in another body at safety after cuts. Wouldn't be surprised on most positions if they brought in some bodies, to be honest. But how do you feel about safety, man? I feel like we're both pretty positive on safety.
Yeah, we are. There's a lot of young guys that need Jeremey Chinn. I mean, Jeremey Chinn and Kenny Robinson, I love those draft picks. Yeah. And they're here in the safety position. Trey Boston, I really like. So, is it my grade time?
Yeah, give him a grade.
This is going to go completely different, but I'm going to go A-. Oh, wow. I'm expecting I think the safety position is one of our strongest, is going to be one of the strongest we have.
Yeah, I'm going solid B. I'm still very high on it, especially compared to corner. I love Trey Boston. I think he's one of the top safeties in the league. Mm-hmm. He's not top tier, but I think he's probably in that 5 to 10 range on his best day. Jeremey Chinn is, obviously, we have a ton of expectations and hope for him, but he's still pretty unproven. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done it on the big stage yet, but he's got all the measurables and everything. And then again, like you said, we're still very young at the position. So, between Juston Burris, Kenny Robinson, TJ Green, we hope that one of these guys provides either solid depth or can jump into a starting spot. So, I'm very optimistic about them. So I'm not at all upset to say B. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that.
I think I've noticed something about our draft. I look at more of the depth as giving it a more down or more up, and you look more at the starters and then.
Well, I give more weight to the starters because they're going to be the main ones on the field. So, but depth, we know we just don't have a ton of depth at any position at all.
No.
Other than kind of the defensive line, I think we said so. And even that's more sort of dropped a little bit.
End edge rusher type of area, not defensive tackle.
Yep. So, all right, man. Well, that was fun. Still pretty bummed out about corner, but pretty happy with safety. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up, Jerry.
Yep. And as always, we want to thank you for listening. If you like our show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbox@meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on our show. And if you're on YouTube, just go ahead and Google or search us because we're on there too.
Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Gonna be one of those guys, but hey, it really helps us out. So more subscriptions we get, more likes we get, more times they recommend us, and same thing on iTunes. So rate and review us on there as well. We will be back probably next week now that training camp is in full force. We're going to try to make this a weekly thing until the season starts, and then we'll get back to our normal 2 to 3 episodes a week schedule.
I was going to say, it's unfortunate, though. We're not going to be able to review preseason games this year.
I know, that's a bummer. We'll do the best we can. You know, when padded practices starts, maybe we'll start getting some more intel on what's going on. But anyway, until next week, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.